Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the PlayStation 3, the Slim model in particular, and see how this console holds up in 2023. Now, I will definitely tell you, with this type of console, the whole entire PlayStation 3 lineup, even including the Xbox lineup, including the Wii at that time, that was a moment in history. It was crazy. You would never think that, those many crazy consoles could come out at the same time that were so important and so just crazy. And the fact that there were so many iterations of those consoles too was really cool. I really loved seeing all those different iterations. But funny enough, the PlayStation 3 Slim model in particular was one of those consoles that I didn't buy for a few years. I wasn't really too much into the PlayStation 3 or even the Xbox 360. I was mostly for the Wii at that moment. But the Slim model of the PS3 looks so nice, and I loved that model. That was probably one of my most favorite designed PlayStation 3s, but I do think the PlayStation 3, the original one, was way more iconic. That original PS3 was just an icon, including with the original 360. And then all these other iterations were kind of here and there, but I do think the PlayStation 3 Slim looked very nice, and I like the texture and I like the way it looked overall. Now, on the outside of the PlayStation 3 Slim model, we basically had the standard, PlayStation 3 design. It looked kind of like a PlayStation 3, like the original one, but the biggest thing was that it was a much slimmer console. It had a slimmer form factor, but another big thing was that there was two things with it. It decreased the amount of power it consumed. Now, this was a really big thing to keep in mind, because with a console like the PlayStation 3, this is a console that basically had, the original one took a lot of power and it basically just consumed a bunch of energy for it to run. Now that the PlayStation 3 Slim had came out, technology got better. They were able to go and, fix a few things here and there. And by that moment, you were actually able to go ahead and pretty much get a really good quality console that decreased power consumption, and it was a quieter system as well. So it didn't ramp up the fans inside of it all the time. So those were some of the biggest things going for the, Slim model. It decreased the power consumption, and it was a cooler system, and it was a quieter and slimmer console as well. So those things right there, I think, are very, very important for the average person to keep in mind, because with those types of different, improvements, it actually makes something like the PlayStation 3 Slim kind of a better deal in some ways. Now, on the outside, like I said, you had a slimmer console. You also had, basically your standard, design. I like that matte texture on the top, and I do think it looked pretty nice. It wasn't perfect, but I do think it was something that was nice. And when you were able to look at that console, you were still able to see that it was a PlayStation 3. But clearly, like I said, it just didn't look exactly identical to that original PS3, but it still looked like a pretty good console nonetheless. Now, on top of that, you had that standard disc tray that you could go ahead and basically take out if you want to. You can put a disc in, you can put a disc out. You could do anything you really wanted to do with it, which is awesome. You had your standard port selection with that console as well. So you had USB ports, you had AC adapter, you had HDMI out. So still very, very nice that you had that type of capability here. And nonetheless, on the outside, it still looks very good. There's not really a lot to complain about here. And still, when I look at the PS3, although it looks more like a PlayStation 3 than a PS4, I still kind of see some resemblance of a PS4 from this type of console. Like that matte texture and everything, it really actually does look not more like a PS4, but I could definitely see the steps on Sony on how they went from a PS3 to a PS3 Slim, and then a PS3 Slim to the PS4, but I don't really understand the PS3 Super Slim. I don't think that was a good choice, to be honest, but regardless, it still looks great. I still think it looks beautiful, and it's still a very good console nonetheless. Now, another big thing, at least with how the PS3 Slim holds up today, is with its game capability, basically. So there are still lots and lots of games available for the PS3 Slim. Now, they're not making any more games for this console. I think we all kind of know this, but there are still lots and lots of games available for the PS3 Slim. You can easily go ahead and basically just, download. Maybe you can't download any game right now, but there is a huge back catalog of so many games available for the PlayStation 3. And a lot of these games, sometimes some of them are available on the PS3 Slim as backwards compatibility, but with something like the PS3 Slim, there's still a lot of capability with this console if you're trying to specifically play games that are available for this console. You cannot play PS4 games, you cannot play PS5 games, we all know this, and you can't really even download and install a lot of games available digitally because, a lot of those games aren't really available anymore. So that's kind of a big thing to keep in mind here too. I wouldn't want to recommend everybody to go and buy a console like this as of this point because, there's just not that much development going on for this type of console. And because the consoles after this are backwards compatible, there's not really a big point of even having a console like this. These things aren't really collector's items, I would say. Maybe you can make a little bit more money if you keep it for a longer period of time, but I wouldn't say the average person is basically getting this console as a collector's item. I think they are getting it because there's still some games available for the PS3 that they want to play, and I think that's perfect. That is a perfect example of why somebody should be buying a console like this. But I will say there's a lot of emulators out nowadays. You can basically just go ahead and play these games with it anyway. So the PlayStation 3 Slim in this day and age, I don't think is the exact console you should go and be picking up. If there's a reason you need it, or if there's anything along those lines, then by all means go for it. But if you're just like a random person who's just trying to buy a console and play some games, there's not really a big reason of getting this particular console. You are much better off buying something like a PS4 or PS5. You can probably get them for very cheap, not a PS5, but PS4 you can buy for significantly cheaper than it used to be. So that might make a little bit more sense to buy there, but I still like the PS3 Slim. I think it was a really good console, but I just don't think it was the perfect, I just don't think it's a good console to buy anymore, if that makes any sense. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.